It started like any other morning at Fort Benning. A pale orange sky, boots hitting pavement cadences echoing between the pine trees. Sweat, dirt, discipline. The usual. Sergeant Harper Williams had gone through this routine 1,000 times before. But this morning, this Tuesday, was different. It was her birthday. 27 years old, 3 years in the military, 2 overseas deployments, 1 fractured family. Harper didn't expect a celebration. Soldiers rarely did. A quiet breakfast, maybe a laugh or two with Torres and Washington if they remembered the date, but something waited in her barracks, something that would change everything. She returned from morning PT, towel over her shoulder, thoughts already turning to paperwork and logistics tasks. She wasn't a combat soldier. She handled gear, supplies, numbers. Essential work, but quiet, safe. The hallway to her room was empty, silent. She pushed open the door and paused. There, on her bunk. A package. Brown paper, neatly wrapped, meticulously taped. It sat perfectly centered, as though someone had measured the exact middle of the bed. For a moment, she thought it was a mistake. Then she saw the handwriting on the label, the curve of the J, the looping S at the end. Jessica, her sister's handwriting. Harper froze. She hadn't seen that handwriting in years. Not on a letter, not on a card, not on a package. For a second, just a second, she didn't breathe. It was as if time bent around that box, wrapping the air in memory and hesitation. Her fingers brushed the edge of the package as she sat beside it. This couldn't be nothing. Jessica hadn't sent her anything real in almost a decade. Not since before. Everything. The silence, the fight, the endless distance between them, filled with politics, pain, and stubborn pride. And yet, here it was. A gift from Jessica, wrapped like an apology, sealed like a hope. Sitting on Harper's bunk like it belonged, or maybe like it had been planted by fate itself. She didn't open it right away. She just stared. In her heart, the 12-year-old girl who used to chase her sister through the backyard of their Michigan home whispered, "She remembers you." And for that moment, Harper allowed herself something dangerous. Hope. Hope that maybe, despite everything, her sister still saw her, not as a soldier, but as family. Harper smiled softly. Her fingertips traced Jessica's signature. Then, just as she began to peel away the first strip of tape, bootsteps. Behind her, fast, purposeful. The room filled with the presence of someone who wasn't just passing by. Commander Walker. And his voice, like cold steel, cut through the quiet air. "Do not touch that package, Sergeant. That is not a gift." She didn't hear him at first. Not the creak of the door, not the boots on tile. Only when his voice broke the air did her body snap to attention almost out of instinct. "Sergeant Williams." She stood up immediately. The package still rested on the bed, unopened, untouched, but now it seemed radioactive. Commander Walker, clipboard in hand, sharp, measured, unreadable. He wasn't the type to make small talk or to drop by unannounced, but he was here, and he had noticed the box. His eyes narrowed. He didn't move closer, not yet, just stared. Then, without changing tone, without blinking, step away from that package. Harper blinked, confused. "Sir?" she asked, halfway between surprise and embarrassment. "It's just a gift from my sister." Walker took one step forward, then another. Now he was close enough to see the label, all of it. His jaw tightened. "That is not a gift." His voice was steel now, no warmth, no doubt. Harper's smile vanished. Her stomach dropped. The air in the room turned cold. "Sir, I don't understand. Do not touch it." The words were no longer a suggestion. They were an order. Time fractured. The walls of the barracks felt like they were closing in. The edges of Harper's vision blurred. Her fingers twitched by her sides, unsure what to do. Her training told her to follow protocol. Her heart told her it was just a box from her sister. Walker leaned in, pointing up a corner of the package. A small sticker, faint, easy to miss. Harper hadn't noticed it before, but Walker had. "That symbol," he said, voice low, "has shown up in intel briefings. It doesn't belong on birthday gifts." The room, moments ago filled with quiet hope, now vibrated with silent danger. In Harper's mind, alarms began to ring, not literal ones yet, but something deeper, the kind of alarm your body gives you when it senses your life is about to change. And in that moment, she realized this was no longer about a gift. It was about what or who sent it. The silence didn't last long. Within 2 minutes of Commander Walker's radio call, the entire energy of Fort Benning shifted. Boots pounded the floors. Orders echoed down the hallway like ricochets. "Evacuate C barracks. Move. Let's go." Harper was escorted out first, alone. One MP stayed behind with Walker. Another took her gently but firmly by the elbow. "Come with me, Sergeant." She didn't resist. She couldn't. She turned back once, just long enough to see the hallway filling with soldiers in various stages of panic and confusion. Some had towels still draped around their necks. Others clutched half-zipped duffel bags. Every single one of them turned to look at her. No words, just stares. Their eyes said it all. "What did you do? Why is this happening? Because of you. What's in that box?" The longer she walked, the heavier her breath became. It felt like gravity had increased around her. Each step was slower, harder. Outside, the morning sun seemed too bright, like it was exposing her somehow. In the distance, she saw the telltale black trucks, military police, EOD, CID, and behind them, the ones in bomb suits. Reality slammed into her chest like a hammer. This wasn't just precaution. This was serious. They thought her package could kill someone. The box that once felt like a reunion now felt like a trap. She stood alone on the grass, surrounded by caution tape, armed soldiers, and suspicion so thick it was suffocating. Amanda appeared breathless. "Harper, what the hell is going on?" Harper's voice cracked. "I don't know. It was just a gift from Jessica." But even as she said it, the words felt foreign in her mouth, like they didn't belong anymore. And somewhere deep inside, a darker thought whispered, what if it's not just a mistake? What if Jessica meant for this to happen? The room was small, sterile, cold. Not the kind of cold that comes from temperature, the kind that seeps in when you know everyone in the room sees you as a question mark, maybe even a threat. Harper sat at the metal table. No restraints, no handcuffs. But it didn't matter. She felt confined anyway. The door opened. A woman in civilian clothes stepped in, trailed by Commander Walker. She looked mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back tight. Her presence filled the room before she even spoke. "Sergeant Williams," she began calm but firm, "I'm Special Agent Elena Rodriguez, Army Criminal Investigation Division." She didn't sit right away. She just watched Harper. Then she took her seat across from her. No smile, no comfort. "This is not an interrogation," she said. "This is a voluntary interview to gather clarity. Your cooperation is appreciated." Harper nodded, jaw clenched. Clarity. What a soft word for something that felt like a blade being pressed to her life. Agent Rodriguez opened a folder, typed notes, printed photos. "Let's start with something simple," she said. "When was the last time you spoke with your sister Jessica Williams?" Harper swallowed. 3 days ago, over video call. She told me to expect a birthday package." "What did she say would be inside?" "She said it was personal, that it would help her understand my world better." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow slightly. "And did you think that was suspicious?" Harper hesitated. "No, it felt like progress, like we were reconnecting." Rodriguez nodded slowly, jotting something down. Then her voice changed, still calm, but heavier now. "Did you ever share details about the base with your sister?" Locations, schedules, security patterns? Harper's breath hitched. No, never. Not even casual mentions of routine or maps or building layouts? Just virtual tours, showing her where I lived, nothing sensitive. The agent didn't respond. She just turned a page. More photos. Jessica at protests, with signs, with people, with a man Harper didn't recognize. Do you know this person? Rodriguez asked, tapping the image. Harper leaned forward, squinted. No, who is he? Kyle Brandt, Rodriguez said, affiliated with a domestic extremist group, known for anti-government plots. Harper's skin turned cold. I don't know him, she whispered. Jessica, she's just passionate. She wouldn't. Rodriguez held up a hand. Let's stay with the facts. And in that moment, Harper realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about Jessica anymore. It was about her. The news came in like a cold slap to the face. Jessica Williams was taken into custody in San Francisco at 900 hours this morning. Agent Rodriguez delivered it with the same calm she always wore, like announcing a change in the weather. But to Harper, it felt like her lungs had stopped working. Jessica, arrested, not just questioned, not just flagged, arrested. Rodriguez laid a manila folder on the table. She opened it slowly, deliberately, like turning the pages of something sacred or something damning. Inside, photos. Dozens of them. Jessica at protests, Jessica shouting into megaphones, Jessica spray painting walls with slogans like "Silence is complicity" and "End imperial violence." Harper blinked hard. She had always known her sister was passionate, but this wasn't just activism. This looked organized, strategic. Rodriguez tapped the last photo. Jessica, standing with Kyle Brandt, leaning close, talking. They were seen together multiple times, she said. 3 different cities. 4 rallies. We have time-stamped footage. Then she dropped the real bomb. We also have communications. She pulled out printed emails, encrypted texts, partial transcripts. Harper read, "They won't listen unless we disrupt. Let's make them feel it. Harper is still on base. Could be useful. Let's send a message they'll never forget." Harper's vision tunneled. The words echoed like gunshots in her brain. Harper is still on base. Could be useful. Her name, her sister, her life. Reduced to a pawn in someone else's plan. She couldn't breathe. Rodriguez didn't press. She simply said, "We believe your sister was attempting to use your position, knowingly or not, to gain access." In that moment, something cracked inside Harper. Not just shock, not just anger, betrayal, the kind that crawls up your spine and settles behind your eyes. "We'll need your phone and laptop, Sergeant." The words were delivered softly by Agent Rodriguez, not cruel, not angry. But that only made it worse, because it meant this wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was procedure. Harper didn't protest. She reached into her duffel, pulled out her military-issued laptop, and then, almost reluctantly, her phone. Her phone. The device that had once held her entire private world, photos, messages, her last video call with Jessica. She placed it on the table like a confession. Rodriguez nodded, collected both items in a sealed evidence bag, and left the room. And just like that, Harper was cut off. No contacts, no messages, no explanation to anyone, no voice of comfort, no way to reach Amanda, no "I'm okay" text to Dad, nothing, just silence. She sat alone in the sterile interview room for what felt like hours. The walls didn't move, but they pressed in. The clock ticked loud, then louder. No one came back. No one explained. No one asked if she needed anything. And the worst part? No one treated her like Harper anymore. Not the sergeant, not the friend, not the loyal soldier. Only a shadow remained. A name connected to a potential threat, an unknown variable in a chain of evidence. When she was finally escorted back to temporary quarters, not her old room, not her old bed, it was late, nearly midnight, And no one spoke to her. No one even looked. She had become a ghost in the very place she had once called home. The room was quiet, too quiet, just the hum of the monitor. Just the steady beat of Harper's heart in her own ears. Across from her, Captain Lewis and Agent Rodriguez waited in silence as the connection finalized. Then the screen lit up. Jessica, wearing a prison jumpsuit, hair no longer vibrant, the purple now faded, dark roots showing. But her eyes hadn't changed. Still sharp, still unwavering, still Jessica. Harper sat forward, heart caught in her throat. Jessica? Her sister offered a slight nod. Not warm, not hostile. Just calm. Too calm. Why? Harper whispered, barely able to form the word. Why would you send me that? Jessica tilted her head, studied her through the camera, and then, in the same voice she once used to explain school projects or art pieces, she answered, "It was a test, Harper, a test of loyalty." Harper's body went cold. Loyalty? Jessica didn't blink. I needed to know if you were truly gone, if they'd taken you completely. Harper leaned back, stunned. You sent me explosives, Jessica shrugged. They were harmless until assembled. You promised to open the package in private. Harper's voice cracked. You were trying to make me a traitor. A pause. I was trying to give you a choice, Jessica replied, to decide who you really stood with. Harper stared at the screen, her fingers curling into fists. You wanted me to be a spy, an infiltrator, a weapon inside the system. Jessica didn't deny it. You were positioned perfectly. On the inside. Trusted. Who better to help deliver a message? Harper shook her head slowly, her breath trembling. You weren't trying to reconnect. You were recruiting me. Jessica leaned forward, voice dropping. I still believe in you, Harper, but I had to be sure. I had to know where you stood. And just like that, years of love, of memories, of sisterhood turned to ash. Harper's voice cracked, not with anger, but with something far more dangerous, hope. Did you ever actually want to fix things, or was I just part of your plan? Jessica didn't answer right away. She looked off screen for a moment, the first time she'd broken eye contact. Then she exhaled and looked back. Her voice came softer this time. At first, I did. Harper's heart clenched. I missed you, Harper, Jessica continued. I really did. A pause, then the dagger. But the mission was more important. The cause is bigger than you, bigger than me. Bigger than us. Harper's throat tightened. She blinked fast, trying to keep it together. But something inside her cracked anyway. You used me, she whispered. Jessica's silence said everything, because the answer was yes. Not shouted, not admitted outright, but said in every breath, every excuse, every cold word cloaked in justification. She had used Harper, and she didn't even seem sorry. She wasn't escorted back to her old barracks. They took her somewhere else, a temporary housing unit on the far side of the base. No one said the word. No one needed to. Quarantine. Not because of illness, but because no one wanted to be near the woman who might have let danger onto the base. It didn't matter that she hadn't done anything. What mattered was the fear, and fear spreads faster than truth. Her new room was sterile, smaller, a single bed, no personal items, no pictures, no comfort. Just 4 white walls that stared back at her in silence. Outside, whispers grew. She wasn't supposed to hear them, but she did. That's her, the one with the sister. MP said she almost brought a bomb in. What kind of person lets family get that close to a base? Every voice was a paper cut, small, but enough of them, and you start bleeding. Even Amanda and Tyler, her closest friends, were distant now. Not cold, but hesitant, careful. She couldn't blame them. After all, if she wasn't sure what Jessica was truly capable of, how could they be? 3 nights. That's how long it had been since Harper was moved. 3 nights of silence, of frozen dinners and empty halls. 3 nights of being invisible, except to whispers and side eyes. And then, a knock. Not a harsh bang, not a commanding rap from CID, just a soft, steady knock, one that knew exactly where she lived and still came anyway. Harper opened the door, and there she was, Amanda. Still in uniform, still standing tall, still looking at Harper not with fear, not with suspicion, but with something far rarer, faith. Amanda didn't wait. She walked in, dropped a bag of takeout on the table, and sat like she'd done it 100 times before. Harper didn't move. She didn't know if she could, but Amanda just looked at her and said, "I don't think you betrayed us. I think you're just someone who still believes in family." Harper blinked. Once, twice. And then she exhaled. Something cracked inside her. Not pain, relief. Amanda didn't need proof, didn't need clearance, didn't need explanations or investigations. She just believed. That was all. And in a world suddenly so cold, so cruel, so calculated, that belief felt like the first warmth in winter. The room was too quiet. Military courtrooms don't scream. They whisper, in stares, in silence, in the sound of boots against tile. Harper walked in, not in uniform, not today. Just a simple blouse. Her name still pinned to her chest like a reminder, this is who I am. She didn't look around, not at the officers, not at the lawyers, not even at Jessica, until she had to. When the bailiff gestured her to the witness chair, she finally lifted her eyes and saw her. Jessica sat like a statue, composed, distant, and cold. No nod, no blink, no flicker of memory in her eyes. It was like Harper had never existed. Like she was just another stranger brought in to testify. Harper swallowed. The chair felt harder than it looked. "Please state your name for the record." "Sergeant Harper Lynn Williams." Her voice didn't shake, her hands didn't move, but inside there was a war. One part of her still searched Jessica's face for something, anything, a twitch, a crack, a sign that the sister she grew up with was still in there, but there was nothing. Just the face of a woman who once sent her a birthday gift, wrapped in betrayal. The gavel had already struck. The room was clearing. MPs stood ready at the edge of the aisle. Jessica was being escorted out, but she didn't leave quietly. She turned her voice cutting through the still air like a blade. Traitor. Family traitor. Every syllable was dipped in acid. Her eyes bore into Harper like they could burn through her bones. But Harper didn't flinch. She didn't shout back. Didn't argue. She just stood there frozen in silence, her jaw locked tight, her hands gripping the edge of the witness box. Outside, cameras flashed. Inside the courtroom held its breath. For a second, Harper felt the weight of that word, traitor. It echoed with the weight of centuries, of wars and divided families and bloodlines torn in two. But then something steadied inside her, a quiet, defiant truth. "I am loyal to truth," she whispered to herself, "not blind blood." No one heard it, but that didn't matter, because for the first time since the package arrived, Harper finally knew exactly who she was. Not Jessica's pawn, not the base's pariah, but a soldier, a woman, and a witness to the truth. 6 months later, the scars were still there, not all of them visible, but Harper walked taller now. She wore her new rank on her shoulder, staff sergeant, not with pride, but with purpose, because now she had a mission: fortify from within. That was her briefing. Harper had been officially reassigned to the Base Security Training Division, where she was tasked with educating troops on internal threats, sabotage, insider manipulation, and most importantly, how to spot them before it's too late. And nobody understood that better than her. She didn't just teach protocols. She taught from pain, from lived experience, from knowing what it felt like when the danger wore a familiar face or sent a birthday gift. And the recruits listened, not because she was loud, but because she was real. Harper didn't sugarcoat it. Sometimes the threat doesn't kick down the door, she told them. Sometimes it smiles and says, "I missed you." Her class fell silent every time, not out of fear, but out of respect. Harper wasn't just protecting the base now, she was protecting every soldier who'd ever been blindsided by someone they trusted. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was the shield. Harper sat alone in her bunk. Night had fallen outside the barracks. The world was quiet. And so she wrote, not to Jessica, not to Command, but to someone she'd almost forgotten, the little girl with scraped knees and a heart that believed family meant forever. Dear me, I know you wanted to believe that love could fix everything, that family would always come back around, and I'm proud of you for holding on. But here's what I've learned. Love doesn't mean blindness, and loyalty doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to stop chasing the people we used to know and start standing for the person we're becoming. You don't have to carry guilt that doesn't belong to you. You don't have to keep doors open for those who slammed them shut. You can let go now. And it won't mean you stopped loving. It just means you started loving yourself too. From the woman you grew into. From the soldier you never imagined you'd become. From the heart you protected even when it cracked. Harper. She folded the letter, tucked it into her journal, and for the first time since this all began, Harper smiled. Not because it didn't hurt anymore, but because she finally understood the difference between breaking and healing. 1 year later, same bunk, same birthday, but this time Harper woke up to laughter in the hallway, not alarms. She opened her eyes to a knock on the door, and outside was a box, wrapped in simple brown paper. No flashing labels, no hidden dangers. Just a note from Amanda and Tyler for the woman who never gave up. Harper froze for a second, her breath caught. Just for a heartbeat. Old memories flickered. But this time, no sirens, no suspicion, just warmth. She opened the box carefully, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Inside was a simple metal bracelet, engraved with 4 words: truth, loyalty, family, choice. Amanda stepped in behind her, grinning. Tyler held up 2 paper cups of base coffee. "You didn't think we'd forget your birthday again, did you?" Harper laughed. Not loud, not long, but real. The kind of laugh that comes when the past no longer owns you. The kind of laugh that says, "I survived, and I chose better." Outside, the base carried on. Inside, a chapter closed, but something stayed behind, quiet, steady, and strong. Not the echo of betrayal, but the hum of belonging. Not everyone who shares your blood shares your beliefs. Family is a gift, but it should never cost your soul. Harper learned that love doesn't mean surrender. Staying loyal to what's right, to your integrity, to the truth, sometimes means walking away from the people you once trusted most. Life will often ask you to choose between what's easy and what's right. And true courage is choosing what's right, even if it means standing alone. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to choose between family and truth, between comfort and conviction, hit that subscribe button. Because here, we tell stories that don't just entertain you, they awaken something inside you. Like, share, and drop a comment below. Would you choose what's right or what's familiar? We'd love to hear your voice.